Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. As Bob mentioned, my name is Ron Vogel. I'm a regional field representative for the Rapid Response Unit. So outplacement services is kind of what we do. So you don't have to listen to me drown on today. I'm also going to introduce a couple of our other guest presenters that you're going to be hearing from today. So what you should see up on the screen is the agenda for the presentation today. All the contact information for the presenters that will be here today, as well as the subject matter that they are covering, is included on there, as well as if they have any websites, email contact information, etc. One presenter that is on the agenda that was unfortunately not able to make it today is Mr. Bill Cockrell from the United Way of Lackawanna in Wayne County. So I will be covering Bill's material, not as well as he can, but we'll give it our best effort. I'd also like to thank John Castrovinci from the Scranton School District and Rosemary Boland from the Scranton Federation of Teachers for working with me in order to make today possible. Also, there's some human resources staff that are going to be on the call a little bit later. So if we have any questions that come up that are best answered by the HR department, and Rosemary is also on the presentation in case we have anything comes up related to your collective bargaining agreements. I believe Barb Kester from Human Resources and Bernice Badner, the District Benefits Coordinator, will be here in case any questions should arise that are best answered by them. So like I said, thank you for taking the time to join us today. It's my hope that when we are through today, that you will feel that you've received some return on investment for the 2 hours of your life that I'm going to steal from you today. Let me say that I'm sincerely sorry that we're meeting under these circumstances, and I'm sure you've heard this already, but I'll reiterate it anyway, that the situation you find yourselves in is both extraordinary, since I'm really sick of hearing the word unprecedented, but also outside of your control. It is in no way a reflection on the dedication that you bring to the job of supporting the students of the Scranton School District, many of whom face unique personal and educational challenges. I have both teachers and educational support staff in my own family, and I can tell you that I couldn't do what it is that you folks do. Finding out that you're going to lose your job is one of the most traumatic things we can experience in our life after death of a loved one, serious illness, and divorce, depending on how your marriage was going. So you may have remembered from high school or college psychology class the 5 stages of grief. And because it's a traumatic experience, it is normal to experience those 5 stages of grief when you find out that you're going to be losing your job. So it normally starts with denial. This can't be happening. There's no way they can pull this off without us. Denial usually moves to anger. We're getting shafted. I can't believe this is the value that's placed on our work. And then we move to the bargaining stage. Maybe they'll change their mind when the wheels come off the cart. And following bargaining is usually a period of sadness or depression or some combination of the two. And no one's going to hire a furloughed district employee. Where am I supposed to find a job in the middle of a pandemic? And that should eventually move on to acceptance. The problem is when one of our members of our work family gets stuck in one of these stages and can't seem to move forward. So I say your work family because you have your real nuclear family, and then you have your work family. And I'll ask you to please watch out for each other. Keep in touch with your coworkers who seem to be struggling. It's difficult for our spouses or our significant others sometimes to understand the emotions that they're going through if they've never gone through this, whereas your coworkers are sharing that experience with you. For many of you, your plan right now is to likely ride out the storm for a bit. You'll be back to work by November after Christmas break at the latest. And maybe this works out well because you may have children of your own that are home and you need to assist them with their virtual learning. And we certainly hope that you are recalled in a few months. But I've been doing this job for over 10 years now, and I cannot emphasize enough how critical, how imperative it is for you to have a plan B in case this furlough lasts longer than you initially thought it was going to. One of the most uncomfortable topics that we need to address underneath that break in case of emergency in a job loss situation is the effects of job loss on our household finances. And with that in mind, I'm going to turn it over to our first presenter, Terry Stokey from Advantage Credit Counseling. And if you think that all they do is help folks pay off store credit cards that have 25% interest rates, as Terry's going to tell you, services available through CPCS are a lot more extensive than that.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Terry Stokey. Thank you, Ron. I am with Advantage Credit Counseling. You may know us as Consumer Credit Counseling Service of Northeastern PA. We were acquired by Advantage a few years ago, but still offer the same services. So the next slide you see, I need control of the slides, please. Okay, the next slide you see are our locations. Our main office is located in Pittsburgh. We have 5 offices in Pennsylvania, including our local office in Pittston. All of our services are by appointment, and you do see the toll-free number there on our website. We cover now the whole state, and in addition to that, 2/3 of the country. So it does get, you know, pretty busy at our office. I know what you're going through is a stressful situation, and it's important to keep that line of communication open with your family. And I know it's really important to take care of your priorities. You have to keep the roof over your head. So make sure you have enough money to cover your housing, utilities, food, and your health care, okay? And to help you with this, I'm not going to go over this whole booklet in essence of time, but on slide 5 and 6, you see a budgeting sheet to help you with this step. You could use something as simple as a calendar. Mark the days you get your unemployment, mark the days all your bills are due, if there's any other sources of income. Mark on the calendar your bills, and you can kind of line them up with your income so you can see what bills you're going to pay with what paycheck, and it kind of helps to pull everything together and keep you focused. I know a big mistake people make when they get laid off from a job is you tend to spend as much as you make when you're working. And as you'll hear from Kathy a little later, you're going to be collecting, you know, less than what you're bringing home. So go over that budget and make sure you have enough for your necessities, okay? Stay in touch with your creditors, really important. A lot of the creditors are offering assistance due to the pandemic. They are offering deferments. It might be 1 month at a time, from month to month. It might be 3 months at a time. But stay in touch with your creditors. Let them know your situation. And a lot of times they can help you with, you know, putting off your payment and deferring it. Maybe working with you with the interest rate. Every creditor is different. So important to stay in touch with your creditors. I would document your conversation, the company name, the name of the person you spoke to, date and time of the call. So you do have all the documentation. Even if they will send it something in writing, that's helpful. Something else, you want to try and stop using your credit cards. As a credit counselor, we'll ask people how they accumulated the debt, and a lot of times I hear, well, I lost my job. I didn't have a choice but to turn to my credit cards to supplement my reduced income. And you know, really you're kind of setting up the inevitable, because at some point if you max out those cards, then it may get tough to keep up with those payments. So literally stop using your credit cards, even if it means freezing them. Get a container with water, throw your credit cards in it, cover it up, and stick it in the back of your freezer. And if you or anybody in your family think you want to go shopping and you pull out that bowl of ice, hopefully by the time that ice melts, so will that urge to splurge pass. So try and not use those credit cards. And don't think about putting them in the microwave, because the magnetic strip on the back of your credit card will ruin your microwave and you'll be shopping for a new one. You don't need the additional expense right now, so try to refrain from using credit, okay? Next I'm going to go to slide 10. And it's a great time to get a copy of your credit report, okay? And on slide 10, the very last statement talks about how to get your credit report. There's a couple ways you can do it. You could go on annualcreditreport.com, choose which credit bureau you want, Experian, TransUnion, or Equifax. They will ask you several questions to verify your identity. Once you answer those questions correctly, they give you access to the report and you can download it within minutes. Now, why am I putting so much emphasis on this? Your credit's being checked for a lot more than just when you apply for a credit card or a loan. If you were shopping for insurance, even looking for a job, if you were contemplating a different job and it was anything in the finance field, any kind of a government job, you have to go through a security clearance. So part of that clearance involves checking your credit. So you don't want a mistake on your credit to hamper the chances of getting another job. So it's important to stay on top of that credit report and make sure everything is accurate. So you can use annualcreditreport.com. You can also, with annualcreditreport.com, we're entitled to one free credit report from each credit bureau once a year. But due to the pandemic, they have expanded on that so you can get it weekly, I believe, through the end of the year. Okay. If you go through annualcreditreport.com, it will not include your credit score. They usually want you to pay for that. But a way to kind of get around that, Experian does offer a free site, and that is www.freecreditscore.com. You can check your Experian credit report as often as you like. They include the credit score. They update the score monthly. They send you email alerts when something's changed. And the best part, it's free. So that's another great way to monitor your credit. But what do you do if you do find a mistake on your credit report? Because mistakes do happen. If you order the report online, you can also file a dispute online. You would just click the dispute button on the site. You'll have to download a PDF form to complete. I would definitely recommend scanning any documentation to send, to show why it's not your item or whatever the case might be. The credit bureau has 30 days to investigate your dispute. If after 30 days they can't come up with a valid reason as to why that item is out there, they should send you a corrected copy of your credit report with it removed at no charge. I might even go as far as doing this in writing. I would make a copy of the credit report, circle the mistake, and write a very detailed letter. Include copies of documentation and keep a copy of the file for your records. Okay, so a good time to get a copy of your credit report. As I scroll through here, let's see, slides 15 and 16 talk about our services. We talked about ways to create a budget, but if you would rather do it online, we do have an online budget advisor. And if you go on that site, it helps you create a budget. It also offers additional money management advice, so that's a great tool to help you with your budget as well. The next slide talks about our services. If you're struggling trying to keep up with your bills, we do offer free budget counseling. Worst case scenario is bankruptcy. We try and help people avoid bankruptcy at all costs. When people file bankruptcy, that's on your credit record for 7 to 10 years. We are approved by the U.S. Trustee's Office to do the pre-bankruptcy counseling and pre-discharge education that is required by the Bankruptcy Code. But before you do that, it's worst case scenario, we do have a program called Debt Management, which is to help get your credit card debt under control. You'll make an appointment with one of our certified credit counselors, and we would go over your income, your living expenses. You would have to have your most recent credit card bills available so we had accurate balances and interest rates. And then once we gather that information, we arrive at a monthly payment. And if that payment works for you, you would make one payment to us per month for your debt, and then we pay the credit card companies. The credit card companies help you when you're on our program by giving you interest rate concessions. So basically what that means is they will lower your interest rates to either try to make the payment more affordable, or sometimes it's a matter of coming up with a fixed monthly payment over a set period of time, not to exceed 5 years, so you can put that debt behind you once and for all. So that's a much better alternative to filing bankruptcy. We do offer credit report review. There is a fee for that, though, and I just mentioned how you can get your credit report at no charge. We're a HUD certified counseling agency, so we help first-time home buyers as well as how to save your home from foreclosure, which I'm going to get into in a moment. And a lot of our services are also available online, so don't be afraid to reach out. Now, before I get into this HEMAP program, if you are still paying on a mortgage, also another good idea, stay in touch with your mortgage lender. A lot of mortgage lenders are also working with their clients with deferments. But regarding deferments, just a little FYI for you, you may want to ask, like let's say it's a 3-month deferment. Well, what's going to happen when those 3 months are up? Are they going to expect you to pay 3 months worth of your payment at once? Are they going to extend the term of your mortgage? are they going to recalculate your mortgage payment and, you know, increase your payment a little bit to make up for the 3 months that you deferred? So you just want to know what you're getting into, so make sure you ask those questions. But if you are nervous about falling behind with your mortgage, okay, due to the CARES Act, there is some relief. There's a pandemic mortgage relief program if you own your home, and there is also a rent relief program. And I apologize because I have nothing, you know, visual to show you on this. But this program is scheduled to expire the end of November, but I understand they are trying to get it extended to the end of the year. But if you are struggling and worried about falling behind, Lackawanna County Human Services Office is the agency that is processing the applications for this program. If you go on PHFA's website, which is www.phfa.org, there's a red ribbon scrolling across the screen. Right underneath that red ribbon is a link to the Pandemic Mortgage Relief Program if you own your home, and there's a link for the Rent Relief Program. You do have to apply online, and it would have to be approved by PHFA. Now, if by some chance you got denied this program, then you would apply for HEMAP. Now, if you have questions about the relief program, you can call Lackawanna Department of Human Services. They're in the Globe Store building on the 4th floor, and their phone number is 570-963-6790. Again, that phone number is 570-963-6790. Okay. Now, if you get denied for this program, there is another program to help homeowners. If you receive an Act 91 notice and you were denied the relief program, an Act 91 notice is a formal notice of foreclosure on your home. And the first thing you want to do is not to panic. The first thing you want to do is pick up the phone and give us a call. We do work with Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency with a program called the HEMAP program, which stands for Homeowners Emergency Mortgage Assistance Program. Okay, so there is a copy of a brochure in here. I'm going to kind of give you the abridged version here in an explanation. But with the HEMAP program, one very important part, once you get an Act 91 notice, time is of the essence. You do have 31 days to speak with a housing counselor and work with this program. Please do not wait till day 30 or 31, okay? I know it's scary if you get one of these notices. You think I can get the money together somehow, and for whatever reason you're not able to do that. Call us right away if you happen to get an Act 91 notice. It's a whole lot easier to schedule the appointment and cancel it if everything works out than to try and squeeze you in, you know, when it's crunch time. So please call us right away if you happen to get one of those. And keep in mind, this is worst case scenario. Hopefully you won't find yourself in this situation. But there's 2 types of assistance with this HEMAP program, continuing and non-continuing. Maybe you do get an Act 91 notice because you fall behind, but on a brighter note, you know you're going to be going back to work. You know you'll be able to resume those payments. You just need help getting caught up with your payments. That would be non-continuing assistance. Continuing assistance can go on for as long as 2 to 3 years, okay? So there is help for that. If by some chance you got turned down for the HEMAP program, we would also help you with the appeal process if we needed to, okay? So that's some help for your home. I did mention if you were filing bankruptcy, that's the worst case scenario. But, you know, just know that we're here if you need us. I want to wish you all the best. Good luck to all of you. Does anybody have any questions about the financial part of this at this point? Okay, well, you have my number.
Yep, no, I was just going to say, use the chat panel to put any questions in, and Terry would be happy to answer them.
You know, and if you want to call me at any time, my number is on the agenda. My direct extension is 114. I do only work Wednesdays and Thursdays, so if I'm not available and you hit 0, any counselor can answer questions and help you. Okay, thank you, everybody. Good luck. Okay, I don't see any questions.
Okay, Bob, we do have a message in there from Rosemary Boland that some members are trying to get into the meeting and experiencing some technical difficulties.
Yeah, I see that, and it's hard for me to say what the problem could be. So I guess all we can do at this point is let them know there will be a recording available to them.
Okay, Bob, if you want to go ahead and pass me the ball, I'm going to cover Mr. Cockrell's information. So obviously the conversion from PDF made this a little bit difficult to read. I think maybe in the version that you guys got via email, this is you can actually see this. But it's actually a PDF copy of a two-page brochure from Mr. Bill Cockrell, who couldn't be here today. And he's the AFL-CIO Community Services Liaison from the United Way of Lackawanna and Wayne counties. And the two-page brochure provides some information about community and social services in the area that you may have helped fund through your charitable donations to the United Way. Should you require the services, you can contact these agencies directly, or you can contact Bill Cockrell at the United Way, and he is more than happy to handle the referral to the agency or to expedite that for you. And there's also a brochure in here for 211. If you're not familiar with it, the 211 helpline is a statewide service funded through the United Way. And on the other end of 211, which like 911, a little bit different, are trained agents that can connect you to any type of community or social service agency in your area for whatever your need may be. If you're not sure who it is that may be able to assist you with that, give 211 a call. They are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And although it's unclear on the presentation here, the website is available at PAA211NE.org. So something you'll hear me say a few times throughout the presentation is that we're the government, and nobody loves acronyms more than the government. So the next two slides is some information on COMPASS. And COMPASS is an acronym for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Access to Social Services. It is a single online application for just about every human service program that is managed through the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services. For those of you with dependent children under the age of 19, the COMPASS application is probably the most common method of applying for the Children's Health Insurance Program, better known as CHIP, another one of those acronyms again. The Help for Pennsylvanians brochure provides more in-depth information on the Department of Human Services programs that you can apply for through that COMPASS application. So with that, I'm going to pause, and I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to Mr. Bill Leonard from Educational Opportunity Centers.
Thank you, Ron, and thanks everyone for having me. Yeah, my name is Bill Leonard from Educational Opportunity Centers, otherwise known as EOC. And so for some of you who may be unfamiliar, EOC is a nonprofit. We're funded by the Federal Department of Education. And our mission really is to encourage and assist individuals to further their education so they can advance in their careers in life. And when we talk about education at EOC, we don't necessarily mean a four-year college degree. It could be a GED. It could be an 8-week CDL training program. It could be an associate degree, bachelor's, or master's degree. We do have 3 offices. I am located in the Scranton office in the Outreach building, formerly the EOTC building, right up from the high school. Our main or corporate office is in Edwardsville, and we have a 3rd location in Hazleton. And we do serve 11 counties in northeastern PA and the Lehigh Valley. Our target audience primarily is low-income and potential first-generation college students. That being said, we don't turn anyone away for services. So regardless of your income or your education level or your circumstances, we would meet with you and offer the same exact services. Those services are offered one-on-one, either in person or virtually right now, or in group settings. And in a typical year, we serve approximately 2,200 adults and 1,000 students through our talent search program. And some of you may be aware that EOC visits in middle schools in the Scranton School District with our talent search program. And I myself and my colleague Tim Frank visit the high school, Ms. Gross's class, and we present to the OVR PETS students about career and educational options moving forward. One important thing for everybody to know about EOC is that all of our services are free. So you don't pay anything for our services. These are all no-cost services. So I was thinking a little bit about individuals and your circumstances and what might be relevant. What you're seeing here on your screen is a flyer about, all of our services. But for those of you who may be considering possibly further education, again, whether that's a short-term training program to gain some new skills, or maybe going to college for the first time, or going back for a higher level degree, if you will. And we offer many academic services, general academic counseling, college research, because not all colleges, the performance of all colleges are the same. Colleges are required to report their statistics and performance to the federal government. We know where that information is, so we could help compare colleges and universities for you. We will help you search programs. So if you are interested in a particular program, whether that be, again, CDL, CNA, an IT program, maybe you want to go back for an education degree, we could find out what local or even other colleges have those programs. We will help you identify and help you apply for financial aid, again, if you're thinking of going to college. So for on the federal level, that's the FAFSA. On the state level, there's a Pennsylvania State Grant, along with many other grant and loan programs. We offer scholarship search assistance as well. And finally, we would help individuals apply to college or to a training provider. So those are some of the more popular or often utilized academic services that we offer. For those of you who may be thinking about another job or advancing in your career, and this is stuff that I love, right? So we could sit down again one-on-one and talk about different occupations, do occupational research. So explore jobs that you may be interested in. So we'll look at the job growth. We'll look at the wages. Do they fit your needs? We'll look at the skills that are required for those jobs. We could set up informational interviews with professionals in your chosen occupation. We could arrange field trips, and these are things that we do currently. And finally, we offer resume writing assistance. My office mate, Melody, is a certified resume writer, and she hosts a resume writing workshop on I believe, a weekly basis, and helps individuals one-on-one as well. So talking about careers and jobs are things that I absolutely love. And if it's something you're interested in, I would encourage you to reach out to EOC or me specifically. And finally, as far as individuals who may be unsure about what they want to do next, we offer some decision-making services. So there are many self-assessments that you could take, whether pencil and paper or online, and we could guide you through those. They are going to help you identify careers that are a good match, for your interests, for your values, and for your skills, because those are all things that you need to consider when looking for your next opportunity. We're also going to talk about what we call 360-degree assessments. That's, reaching out to family members, friends, coworkers, people in your networking, and asking them, what they think your skills are, because sometimes our self-assessments are not always accurate. We need to incorporate those observations from others as well. And one newer service that we offer that is really extraordinary is Clifton Strengths Assessment. So many of you may be aware of the Gallup Clifton Strengths philosophy, if you will. That's where it's a way of looking at yourself in a positive light rather than trying to improve your weaknesses, so to speak, or what's not working. You focus on your strengths or your natural talents because that's how you become a more productive worker and just person overall. So we have on staff, I believe, 5 Gallup certified Clifton Strengths coaches. We would pay for your Clifton Strengths assessment, which would give you your top 5 natural talents, and then you could work one-on-one with these certified coaches to find ways for you to turn those natural talents into strengths. Again, to become a more productive worker in person, just overall in your life. So it's a valuable service. If you went out and tried to get personal coaching services, you're probably paying a lot of money for that. So we have, again, 5 Gallup certified Clifton Strengths coaches who could work with you through that assessment and giving you coaching on an ongoing basis, not just a one-time basis, an ongoing basis. So those are some of the services I wanted to touch upon that I think may be relevant to the individuals on this call and on this webinar. I would love to answer any questions if you have any now. I will mention EOC's website is eocinc.org, and we have a pretty thorough website. Our office phone number in Scranton is 570-496-0296, but the quickest way to reach me would be my work cell phone number, and that's 570-417-8414. Or you could reach me at bill@eocinc.org. And I'm available to take any questions you have about our services.
If there's any questions, please use the chat panel and we'll be sure to get some answers for you. Also, I'm showing in the attendee section, Kayla possibly might have entered a question, but I'm not seeing it. So Kayla, if you indeed did enter a question or have a question, would you please click on the green check mark down the bottom right side of your screen, and I can unmute you. Okay, Sonia, hold on. Go ahead.
Hear me?
Yes.
Oh, a lot of us couldn't get into the meeting, and I just got in actually 30 minutes late.
Yeah.
So this will be recorded. Will you be
yes.
able to send a link so everybody could see the meeting?
Yes, the session is being recorded and it will be made available to everybody.
All right, thank you. Yeah, because
Yep.
that's 30 minutes.
Sure. Okay. Okay, I don't see any questions.
Bob, did you want to try the unmute? Now that Bill Cockrell was on the call. I'm not sure if he's still on the call.
Okay, we can give it a shot. So folks, there is a presenter that was able to join us, but only by telephone, and I cannot identify his voice line. So what I'm going to do is to ask everybody, if you would, to don't say anything and minimize background noise. I'm going to mute everybody. And then if our presenter could go ahead and identify himself, and I can unmute your line. So hold on a second.
Sure. Let's go ahead and move forward then. Lonnie, he's going to cover the PA Careerlink portion.
Thanks, Ron. Good afternoon, everybody. As Ron said, my name is John Lotney, and I work with EDSI. EDSI is one of the partners that work in concert here out of the PA Careerlink Lackawanna County office. I'm going to go through a few slides, but I'm not going to read them to you. You can read them at your leisure. However, there are some that are a little more important I will make reference to. But before we start, I am going to let you in on a little secret. Our office, PA Careerlink, and the services that we provide is one of the best kept secrets in Lackawanna County. Unfortunately, people only know we're here when they're hit with this unexpected situation. We are located at 135 Franklin Avenue here in Scranton. And just to give you a landmark, we're directly across the street from Ale Mary's. Our hours of operation, although, let me just get to our hours of operation, although this slide indicates 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., well, due to COVID-19 and the coronavirus, we had to alter them slightly. So our current hours of operation are 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And based on the environment or climate in which we're now working, we are only allowing those individuals with appointments into the building. We do have social distancing protocols in place in our office, so when and if you are scheduled for an appointment, you must wear a mask that covers your nose and mouth. Upon arriving at the office, you will have your temperatures checked at the front doors or main entrance, and there is a short health form that we would ask you to complete. Slide 36 references the partners that I just spoke about working in concert with each other. You just heard Bill Leonard from EOC. Bill comes to our office several times a month, and we have state staff here, and we're all working together for one purpose or one goal, and that's to assist you with securing employment. As I said, my employer here is EDSI, and I oversee the adult and dislocated worker programs. Unfortunately, based on your current situation, you would be considered a dislocated worker. And simply put, a dislocated worker is an individual who has been laid off, displaced, or separated from employment. But our office and all the partners here at the PA Careerlink office are here to assist you to get back to where you want to be, and that's employed. I'll just mention the adult program very quickly. It has different eligibility requirements, namely we have to look at family size and income. But all other services that we provide and requirements remain the same for both the adult and dislocated worker program. We can offer up to $7,500 in funding, which covers approximately, probably better than 90% of all the training programs that we are involved with, and it would pay the entire cost of those programs. Some of the requirements for funding consideration, there's 4 or 5. I'm just going to name them rather quickly here, but you must register on the PA Careerlink website. That's number 1. Then you would get enrolled in the WIOA program. And WIOA, as Ron said before, the federal government, state government has a great many acronyms. WIOA, W-I-O-A, stands for Workforce, Innovation, and Opportunity Act. So you have to get enrolled in that, actively participate in a couple of workshops. The workshops are done here at our office. They take less than an hour. However, in the climate we're in, they're done virtually now. There is an assessment test. It's called the WIN, W-I-N assessment test. And there are 3 parts to that: applied math, reading for information, and locating information. The one good thing about the WIN test is that it is an online program, and one that we will provide you with your sign-on and password. So you could do it at home at your leisure. There's no stress or strain with it. One other program, I mentioned the Adult and Dislocated Worker program. Another program that we offer is the on-the-job training program. You know, there are many times people who are affected by a layoff, they don't wish to commit to a 6-week program or even a 6-month short-term training program. They want to get right back into work. Well, through the OJT program, we will take a look at the skill sets of the individual and try to match them up or marry them up with the particular employer's needs. Now, the OJT is a win-win situation. The OJT program will pay for 50% of the new hire's orientation or training costs. So let's say very quickly that you start out $12 an hour at a new employer under the on-the-job training or OJT. Careerlink, through our funding, we will pay the employer $6, 50% of that $12 an hour. So it's a win-win for them. And what we hope to accomplish there is that the individual who is placed with that employer will be retained with that employer, have a steady paycheck, health benefits, maybe a 401k plan, and get them back on their feet. I'm going to move to the next slide. Slide 37 shows some of the partners and training providers that we partner with, and we have agreements. And we pay for, I'll just take any of like New Horizons or Smith & Solomon, Career Technology Center, Lackawanna County. Many of those we pay for in full. So all you're really putting forth is obviously the time and commitment. Veterans, if any of you are veterans or spouses of veterans, we have a priority of service consideration for veterans. As a matter of fact, there are 2 representatives on site. One is called the Dvop, D-V-O-P, stands for Disabled Veteran Outreach Program Coordinator. And that's Mr. Roy Evans, who does a phenomenal job for us here. He talks with all veterans, whether disabled or not. He will talk to any and all veteran, and he takes a very active role. The other veteran rep that we have is called a lever. I told you there's a lot of acronyms. This is L-E-V-R for Local Employment Veteran Rep. His primary responsibility is to outreach with local employers to see what their needs are, and then hopefully match up a veteran to one of those employment opportunities. You heard Bill Leonard from EOC mention that there is no cost. There is no cost for any of the services provided at the PA Careerlink office. Once again, I said we're the best kept secret. I think you'll agree by the end of this, you'll agree with that assessment. Some of the workshops that we do offer are resume writing and ACE the interview, just to name a few. But I want to take 2 minutes of your time right now just to share my story. I spent 34 years in healthcare, 33 at either a manager or director level. On June 13th, 2013, I walked into my office at 8 a.m. At 9:03 in the morning, it will be ever etched in my mind, my CFO called and said, "John, I'd like you to meet me at HR." Well, I knew immediately what that was all about. And it took a matter of 90 seconds for me to be told, "We no longer have a plan for you. Please hand over your keys to your office and your badge, you're free to go." And it's a very humbling experience, I could tell you that firsthand. But I share that with you because I'm actually a product of all that you've heard thus far here in the presentation. You know, there is a prescription as to how to follow through on this. The one thing I will tell you is you all now have a new job, and that's finding a job. You don't want to sit back and be complacent, because each day that you allow to pass by, somebody else has just jumped ahead of you in line. So let me put this in other terms. Just for an instance, ACE the interview workshop. You know, there may be many of you that haven't had the experience, had to experience the anxiety of an employment interview lately. You know, years ago when you were first going for your jobs or your position was probably a one-on-one, you and maybe the HR manager or most likely the hiring manager. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I could tell you that environment has changed. Today, if you go for an interview, very, very common that you're going to be before a panel of individuals, maybe 3, 7, 9. My first interview after being laid off, it took me 10 months to get a job, but my very first interview was in a conference room with 17 people. And there I thought I was relaxed. It's a very intimidating feel. But through the workshop that we offer, ACE the Interview, we help people get through that anxiety. We do mock interviews. As a matter of fact, Bill Leonard has been one of our mock HR people. It just helps you to relax, and then you'll even identify in the number of interviews that you have the same questions over and over and over until you can formulate a very well-placed response. Slide 39, one last comment. The last bullet point there, Regional Civil Service Testing Center. Unfortunately, at the end of this month, we will no longer we'll no longer have the Civil Service Testing Center here at the Careerlink. However, what you can do, and I would encourage you to do this, is get onto the state civil service website, because it has both government and non-government positions that you may be interested in. Obviously, there are online tests associated with that, but at least it gives you another avenue. I'm going to jump to slide number 42. And that's registering for the PA Careerlink website. This is mandatory if you are going to file a claim for UC benefits. And once you have registered in the state system, it will then generate what we call or refer to as a PID number, participant ID number, that will be unique to you. And you will have to go in, complete the required sections, and then either create or upload a resume into that website. if you have any problems at all, please, please don't struggle with it. Just give us a call here. We'll be happy to help and walk you through it over the phone. I'm going to jump to slide 43. That's the next one. Why enroll in PA Careerlink? Well, there's the 3 reasons right there. Registering on the PA Careerlink website and creating or uploading your resume is beneficial to you for a number of reasons. Because 1, you now have completed a resume that you can now forward onto potential employers. Number 2, any of the employers who post job orders through our office, and there are many local employers who do so, will now have access to your resume. And finally, the vast majority of employment applications are now completed online. So all you would have to do there is upload your resume from the PA Careerlink website to the online employment application, and hopefully you will get a response. And employers have become quite savvy too with different applications, one of which is if you submit your resume, what you have to try to do is incorporate words or verbiage from the employer's job description into your resume, because your resume, once it's uploaded and goes through their app, a person doesn't even review it. If you have the right words or verbiage in there, they get a hit, and it goes over to the possible interview. At least you get a possible interview. But their employers in that respect have become quite savvy. Slide 45, and we're almost done, so hang in there. I'm sorry, I just want to be complete here. If you do not have access to a computer, a laptop at home, we do have a number of desktop computers here at our office in our Career Resource Center. Once again, however, due to COVID, you would have to contact our office, make an appointment for the CRC, and then you would be allowed access into the building, once again, after getting your temperature checked and that short health form. One last thing, sector days. We always try to have a sector day every quarter, and different healthcare, logistics, manufacturing, business, and finance. And in those particular events, we would bring in representatives from the respective sectors. They would speak to the audience for about 20 minutes, no more than a half hour. They would remain on site along with the training providers that you saw in one of the slides earlier, and it becomes a mini job fair. So you can start marketing your skills right then and there to representatives from the employers that have attended. I want to thank you all for your kind attention, and I do invite you and strongly encourage you to contact our office via our website, phone number. Please remember, we're here to assist you and to be of service to you. So good luck to all, and stay positive. I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Vogel. Thank you.
Thanks, John. As John mentioned, a lot of the PA Careerlink offices across the entire state have gone to a virtual platform with the different workshops and seminars that they offer. So one thing that you'll be able to do when you sign up for an account, is under the event section, you could actually toggle through all the different offices in the state to see those workshops and seminar offerings and participate in those virtually. So if there's something that the office in Wilkes-Barre is offering sooner than, let's say, the office in Scranton, for example, or maybe it's the office in Williamsport that's offering something that you're interested in sitting through. And then again, as John mentioned, taking appointments, So if you have a basic resume down already, or you take a basic resume workshop and put that together, and then you want to take the next step with having someone actually sit down and review that resume and help you polish that up, you know, that's something that we can do by appointment. Bob, I wanted to take a break here. I know Kayla had put her hand up. She had a question. And then also, if we can check and see if we have any questions from the folks that are on the phone before we move forward with the health insurance portion.
Sorry, Ron, you said somebody had their hand up. I don't see it.
I think it was Kayla.
Yeah, Kayla has an icon there that indicates that a question was submitted, but I was not able to find it. I did unmute her line once before. I'll unmute it again to see if there is a question. Kayla, do you have a question?
Cases are picking up. See, he said Kayla again.
We can hear you, Kayla. You're on.
Hello? Sorry, I was just letting you guys know about the pairs not being able to join on and ask their questions.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, we're aware of that. We're not sure what the technical problem is. Sometimes technology is great, sometimes not so much. But a recording, like I said before, is going to be made available to everybody, whether they attended or not today.
And Bob, do we want to unmute, see if we have anything on the phone lines as far as questions, since I know they can't raise their hand the same way as the folks on your internet accessible device? Yeah.
Okay, I have received a couple of questions that are UC specific, so we'll be sure to have Kathy address those when she begins her presentation.
Okay, and were we able to unmute the folks on the phones? Did anything come in for the folks on the phone?
You're breaking up on my end here, Ron. I'm not sure what you said.
Do we get any, are we able to unmute the folks on the phone? Because I don't think they're able to raise their hand the same way as our folks that are on an internet accessible device.
Okay, that would involve unmuting all attendees.
All right, then maybe we want to hold off on that till the end.
Okay.
So moving on to the health insurance options portion of the show. My job would be really easy if I could tell a group of people that there is one right answer for everyone in the room, or a virtual room in this case, when it comes to health insurance. Unfortunately, the reality is that every person in every household's health insurance situation and medical needs are unique. So what is a great option for one person in one situation is a terrible fit for another. Another thing that I feel is worth mentioning is that as union members, we pay less money out of our paychecks for better quality health insurance than non-union workers. That isn't my opinion, that's statistics from the U.S. Department of Labor Employee Benefit Security Administration. Furthermore, as public employees, a greater portion of our total compensation package is wrapped up in our fringe benefits and our retirement plan than most private sector workers. As you go through the process of shopping for health insurance, comparing the benefits under a union-negotiated, employer-sponsored group health plan to plans that are available on the individual insurance market is not an apples-to-apples comparison. Individual market plans typically have higher out-of-pocket costs and less generous benefits than most employer-sponsored plans, and they always have, let alone a negotiated group plan. Keep in mind that this is going to be your insurance plan for the time being, not your insurance plan for the rest of your life. So some of the choices that will be available to you either right now or immediately after termination of your employer-sponsored group healthcare plan. Kind of go through these in the order that you'll want to look at them as. Special enrollment into another employer-sponsored group plan. That comes in two flavors, spousal and parental, and we'll talk about that in detail. And your availability for spousal enrollment can affect whether or not you can get financial assistance if you purchase a plan on the health insurance marketplace, aka Obamacare plans. So the plans available on the Affordable Care Act marketplace, if you're under the age of 30, some areas sell catastrophic health plans, which are just that. They don't cover basic benefits. It's basically an emergency hospitalization plan. And then they move up through bronze, silver, gold, and some areas offer platinum level plans, going up in generosity of benefits, and they're organized in that way to make shopping a little easier for you. If you apply for yourself or your household for a plan on the health insurance marketplace, the applicants will also be screened for eligibility for Medicaid, otherwise known as medical assistance, which has been expanded in Pennsylvania. And if you have dependents under the age of 19 on your application, they will also be scanned for CHIP eligibility. All right. However, I recommend if you do have dependents under the age of 19 that you apply to CHIP directly, because the marketplace essentially acts as a middleman there, and it just kind of adds another layer to the steps of getting that dependent insured. So I would say go directly through there, because they're basically going to refer the application out to the county assistance office. Cobra continuation coverage, which is not its own form of insurance. Cobra is just the name of the federal law that allows you to keep the insurance plan that you had while you were working for up to 18 months in most cases. And we're going to talk about all these in greater detail. So special enrollment into another group health insurance plan. Spousal. So if your spouse has access to benefits via his or her employer, and although you may not be currently utilizing them, or maybe your spouse is only on there as single, the loss of your coverage due to layoff allows you to bypass the normal open enrollment period, regardless of when that occurs during the year, for you and or your dependents to enroll in your spouse's employer-sponsored group health plan. The very important deadline to keep in mind with the spousal special enrollment option is that you have a 30-day window that begins with the date that your active employee coverage ends under your current job-based health plan to request that special enrollment into another group plan. If you do miss that special enrollment window of 30 days, you would have to wait until that plan's regular open enrollment period. All right, and those fall throughout different times of the year. It used to be very common that they were in the fall. That's not always so now. After you request your special enrollment, your coverage will be effective on the first day of the month following the month in which you submitted your special enrollment paperwork. So Affordable Care Act Marketplace Exchange Plans. So if you apply for a plan on the marketplace, there will be automatic eligibility screening for you and your dependents for the CHIP or Children's Health Insurance Program, as well as the expanded Medicaid and Medical Assistance Program. A common misconception is that the marketplace has you buying insurance from the government. Other than traditional Medicaid, all of the plans that are sold on the marketplace are sold by private health insurers, including the regional Blue Cross Blue Shield entities, Geisinger Health Plan, UPMC, which just recently started selling insurance in our area. That's University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. They're kind of like Geisinger in the fact that they operate hospitals and they sell health insurance. United Healthcare and Aetna are also available in certain areas in Pennsylvania. As I mentioned, to make comparison shopping easier for you, the plans are put into metal categories, which is based on the percentage of cost that that plan covers for the quote-unquote average person. So a bronze plan, relatively basic, covers about 60% of all costs. Silver, it's about 70%, and gold plans 80%, up to 90%. Platinum plans 90% or better. So the last time I looked at statistics, about 65% of persons that were enrolled in a plan that they purchased on the Affordable Care Act Marketplace were enrolled in a silver level plan. Which makes sense because for the quote-unquote average person, a silver level plan oftentimes represents a good balance between what it is costing them on a monthly basis for premiums, in contrast with the out-of-pocket costs associated with that plan, meaning deductibles and copays, et cetera. Okay, so you can purchase a plan that covers a higher percentage of the cost of healthcare services, and it's going to have a known corresponding higher monthly premium, but lower out-of-pocket expenses for you. So someone who often utilizes healthcare services, or maybe they take some expensive prescriptions not available as a generic, may opt for that plan that covers a higher percentage of costs. a younger or otherwise healthy person may opt for a plan that has higher out-of-pocket costs, making the assumption that they're not going to be using any expensive medical services. So a family, meaning a husband and wife, can enroll in a family plan, meaning they're both on the same plan, or they can split up and be on individual plans based on their medical needs and the corresponding policy premium rates. So if one spouse, for example, has a higher level of medical needs than the other, but potentially be on, let's say, a gold level plan, and then the spouse that doesn't have any medical needs, doesn't take any prescriptions or anything like that, may opt for a bronze level plan and save on the premium. So you, even as a husband and wife team or domestic partners, you don't necessarily have to be on the same plan. So the federal government makes available financial assistance for folks that are enrolling in a plan on the marketplace and qualifies based on their household income, okay? And we'll delve further into this household income thing a little bit, but I just kind of want to show you the basics of that. So going across the top of that chart is number of persons in the household. So a common question is, well, what exactly defines my household? So for the purposes of an Affordable Care Act plan, your household is everybody that is on your federal income tax return. That's who makes up your household, okay? That definition of a household under Children's Health Insurance Program and medical assistance is different, and we'll get into that. But for Affordable Care Act marketplace purposes, it's who's on your federal income tax return. So let's say it's myself, my spouse, and our dependent child. We'd be a household of 3. All right. Now, you guys would be doing what's called a special enrollment. So we're a part of the way through the year. It's not regular open enrollment when you'd be going into one of these plans. All right. So household of 3, if our income that we've made for the year up to this point and what we expect to earn for the rest of the year is below the $29,435, we would be placed onto expanded medical assistance, okay, because the government says that you don't have the means to be paying monthly premiums. Now you move up to the next bracket there, $29,435 up to $53,325. All right. Not only would we get help with paying the premiums on a month-to-month basis, but if we opt for one of those silver level plans, we will also get help with our out-of-pocket expenses such as deductibles and copays. So for a family that falls into that second bracket, that qualifies for that extra cost savings on a silver level plan, that could potentially make the silver level plan be a better plan than a gold or a platinum level plan if I fall into that income bracket. Moving up to the next income bracket, the $53,325 up to $85,320, and these are 2020 numbers, we would qualify for help with our monthly premiums, but we would not qualify for that extra help with out-of-pocket costs. And then finally, for my household of 3, if our countable income is expected to be $85,320 plus for the year, we can purchase a plan on the marketplace. We're just not going to get financial assistance for help with paying the premiums. So what is and is not countable income as we are trying to come up with what income we've earned for the year in the household and what we expect to happen for the rest of the year. So first thing is obviously going to be wages. So a lot of folks ask, well, should I just get my last pay stub and find the biggest number on it and use that as my wages for the year? And the answer to that is probably not, because the figure that you are looking for that you want to report is federal taxable wages, okay? So if, for example, let's say you pay some money towards your health insurance at work, well, that comes out of your wages pre-tax. So that would be included in that big number, but would not be included in the number for federal taxable wages. If you contribute to a retirement plan, that also comes out of your payroll pre-tax. So if you use the big number, that's also going to include the number that you're putting towards your retirement plan. So the number you're after there that you want to report is federal taxable wages, okay? If you have somebody in the household that has self-employment income, you're going to include the net income, not gross receipts, the same way you would report it on your federal income tax return, okay? Social Security retirement or Social Security disability is reportable, okay, but not supplemental security income. Retirement or pension plan income, with the exception of Roth plans, for example. Whether or not you report alimony will depend on when your divorce was finalized, as you can see there. Child support, we do not report. If you have rental property or you're getting royalty income, let's say from a gas lease or something like that, again, you would use your net as you would when you were filing your income tax return. And you also have some deductions you can take from that household income, such as alimony paid depending on the finalization, certain retirement contributions, student loan interest, tuition costs if you contribute to a healthcare savings or healthcare reimbursement account, and educator expenses if you work in a school system and you pay for supplies out of pocket. And then listed on the right-hand side there is some information on things that you do not take as a deduction. So you do report unemployment compensation as income. Now, if you're doing this, you're going, well, I don't know what I'm going to be getting, Ron. How do I estimate that right now? I'll explain that a little bit when we talk about the enrollment period. So it may take a minute to actually get an accurate picture to report when you're doing your application. So is there any reason that me or my household would not be eligible to receive financial assistance on an Affordable Care Act Marketplace plan? Okay. A veteran and their dependents that are enrolled in the TRICARE or CHAMP VA health systems. That is different than Veterans Administration Healthcare. TRICARE CHAMP VA is for military retirees that served in excess of 20 years or were medically retired. A veteran who decides to enroll in VA healthcare. Okay. Veterans who are eligible but not enrolled in the VA healthcare system are eligible to receive financial assistance with one of these plans. If the veteran does decide to utilize the VA system, their spouses and dependents who are not eligible to go through the VA system can purchase a marketplace plan and receive financial assistance. Persons that are enrolled in any part of Medicare, including Part A only, all right, may not purchase a plan through the marketplace. The federal government wants you to enroll in the other parts of Medicare at that point. So it is actually illegal for a health insurance company to sell a marketplace plan to anybody that is enrolled in any part of Medicare. Persons or households that are eligible to be enrolled in the Expanded Medical Assistance Program. Children that are eligible to be enrolled in CHIP. Persons that are enrolled in a retiree health coverage plan. So that's only if you decide to enroll in that retiree plan. If you're just eligible for a retiree plan, but you elect not to enroll in it, you could still go the marketplace route. And the reason you mentioned before why we put the spousal special enrollment up before the marketplace plans is that persons eligible to be enrolled in a job-based health coverage to include a spouse's employer plan that meets affordability and minimum coverage standards would not be eligible to receive any financial assistance with their ACA plan. So how do I enroll or get help enrolling? Okay, the website you want to use currently is www.healthcare.gov. Please don't go to cheaphealthinsurance.com or obamacareplans.net and provide them with any of your contact information because your phone will be ringing for the next 6 months from Indian call center. So it's healthcare.gov. If you want to window shop plans, when you land on that page in the top right-hand corner is a search box. Type in there, see plans. And then I'll start walking you through. So at that point, you're not signing up for anything. You're just basically window shopping. You're going to tell them about where you live. So they show you plans that are sold where you live. You can mess around with your household income estimates and see how that affects your level of financial assistance. Okay. So you can browse the plans in your area. A new feature that they added is that you can put in your doctor's names. So if you have a primary care physician or any specialist that you treat with, you can put in their names, and then the search will show you whether or not that doctor takes that insurance plan. A lot of folks don't want to switch doctors, so that can help narrow down the plans that they're potentially interested in to only the ones that maybe their specialist takes. You can also put in any prescription drugs that you take, and it'll also provide you with some information about where that particular drug falls on the drug formulary for that plan. So what's it going to cost me for my prescriptions? Does that plan have a separate prescription deductible? If you have any questions, let's say you pick out a plan but you don't feel comfortable enrolling over the computer, you can ask questions or enroll by telephone by calling the toll-free number 24/7 that you see there on the screen, 1-800-318-2596, okay? Let's say you want to sit down with a human being that is familiar with this application process that you can ask questions. In the local community are marketplace navigators and certified application counselors, as well as local health insurance brokers, okay? So they are trained and certified on the plans that are sold on that marketplace, as well as the application process. So what's the difference between a navigator and an application counselor versus a broker, okay? So just like you can go to a broker to buy homeowners insurance or business insurance, there's also health insurance brokers. So the difference between the navigators and the application counselors are those folks generally work for a nonprofit organization and their services are funded through a federal grant. Health insurance brokers are self-employed business persons generally, and they make their money on commissions from the insurance company when they sell a plan. So you're not going to pay to utilize the services of either one, but one of them is getting commissions based on the plan that they sell you, and the other one is a nonprofit organization that's funded through a federal grant, okay? You can locate these folks at localhealth.healthcare.gov and just put in your zip code and it'll give you a mileage radius, or you can call the toll-free number there as we mentioned. Now there is some changes that are going to be coming up with the marketplace here in the very near future. Up until the present time, Pennsylvania has utilized the federal marketplace, okay? Back in 2013, when the Affordable Care Act was passed, the federal government made money available and said, hey, if your state wants to build their own shopping mall, their own marketplace, we'll give you money to do so, to set up that infrastructure. If your state doesn't want to set one up, we're going to have a federal marketplace, and any of the states that don't do their own thing, that's where they're going to go. So our neighbors in New York State from the outset in 2013 had their own marketplace, their own telephone number, their own website. Pennsylvania up until now has utilized the federal marketplace and is still using it right now as of this moment if you were to go in on a special enrollment. But coming up this year, starting on November 1st through January the 15th, Pennsylvania is going to open up their own marketplace website. You're probably going to start to see a lot of advertising for that. But right now, as of this moment, we're still utilizing the federal marketplace if you were going to do a special enrollment in the very near future. Like I said, November 1st, Pennsylvania is going to switch over to utilizing their own marketplace website for the annual regular open enrollment period. So this just gives the contact information of some of the local application assisters that work for these nonprofit organizations. I did not include the brokers that are listed, all right, for the area, just simply didn't have enough space to do it. I don't have enough experience with any of these brokers to either steer you towards someone or steer you away from anyone. But just, feel free to call around until you get somebody that gives you, gives you a good feeling then when you talk to them as far as their customer service. So how soon can I get coverage? All right, as I mentioned, under the federal marketplace, regular open enrollment runs from November 1st to December the 15th. For Pennsylvanians, that is going to change this year from November 1st to January the 15th. So if you enroll and pay your first premium between November 1st and December the 15th, your new coverage would be effective as of January 1st, 2021. If you apply between January the 1st and January 15th, your new coverage would go active on 1 February 2021, okay? Obviously, you guys are losing your coverage prior to open enrollment period opening, so you may not necessarily want something that's not going to be starting until January or February. So you may also qualify for a special enrollment period, which you guys do, outside of regular open enrollment because you're experiencing a qualifying life event. So what is a qualifying life event? That includes loss of job-based coverage, to include employer-subsidized Cobra or retiree coverage, moving to another state or region where your plan is, no longer has any coverage, birth or adoption of a child, marriage, divorce, turning 26 and aging off your parents' plan, family's income moving upwards and losing eligibility for CHIP or Medicaid also opens a special enrollment window. Important note there, medical assistance and CHIP do not have open enrollment periods and have continuously open enrollment rolling throughout the year. So these special enrollment periods, they allow you to enroll outside the regular open enrollment period. They usually last 60 days, and the 60 days begins on the date which you experienced the qualifying life event that we talked about on the slide before. If you missed that deadline, then you're waiting around for regular open enrollment. The asterisk there for the 60 days, usually starting on the date you've experienced the qualifying life event, the exception to that is if you are lucky enough to know when your employer-sponsored coverage is going to terminate. If you are lucky enough to know what that date is, you actually have an enrollment window before that happens. So enrolling before you lose coverage, if you lose coverage any time in the next 60 days, you can enroll in the marketplace plan up to 60 days before that date, and your new coverage is going to be effective on the first day of the month following your last day of coverage. So hypothetically speaking, if I were to go and sign up for this tomorrow, my employee-sponsored coverage ends at midnight on the 30th, and at 12:01 a.m. October 1st, my new plan that I purchased on the marketplace would kick in. Now, if you want to wait until after your employer-sponsored coverage is terminated, because most people aren't aware that when their coverage termination date is going to be, you basically have a second 60-day window that is the 60 days following the termination of coverage. Now, when I enroll in that 60-day period is going to affect when the new insurance is going to go active. So if I enroll between the 1st and 15th of the month, okay, so hypothetically speaking, 1st of October, 15th of October, coverage is going to begin on the first day of the next month, November 1. However, if I wait and I do not enroll in between the 16th and the last day of the month, then my coverage is not going to kick in until the first day of the second following month, okay? So when you enroll does affect that. So Cobra continuation coverage. We're the government, we love acronyms. Cobra actually stands for Consolidated Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act. What that has to do with health insurance, I have no idea, but it is the federal law that allows you to keep your insurance from your previous employer for up to 18 months in most cases, okay? A very important deadline that I want you to be aware of is that you have a 60-day time limit to say yes or no to Cobra coverage. Now, the odd part is that the 60 days to say yes or no to Cobra does not line up with the 60-day special enrollment period for the Affordable Care Act. And the reason that is that way is there's a little wrinkle in the law with Cobra that says the 60-day period does not start until the date of your coverage termination or the date your election notice goes in the mail, so you can say yes or no to Cobra, whichever one of those dates is later. So 99.9% of the time, the later of those two dates is the date that the Cobra election notice is mailed out to you. You have 45 days from the date you have said yes to coverage to pay your premiums. Once Cobra is elected and all premiums are paid, coverage is retroactive back to the date active employee coverage was terminated. So when you think about this, if you are in a situation where you're currently in a lapse of coverage because you're waiting for your new plan from the Affordable Care Act to start, or you're waiting for your plan with your spouse's employer to kick in, okay, if something should happen during that time period, anytime during the Cobra election period, you could say yes to Cobra, pay your premiums, and that ER visit will be covered. If nothing happens, you don't say yes to Cobra, you don't write a check, you don't part with any funds, your new insurance kicks on, and you didn't spend any money on that. But like I said, just be aware of that any time during the Cobra election period, if something were to happen, Cobra is one of the only forms of health insurance that has that retroactivity provision. Coverage through your spouse, coverage through the marketplace is going to be what they call prospective coverage, meaning it's starting at some date in the future, and if you were to incur medical costs before that start date, the coverage is not going to cover any of those expenses, okay? So when you are electing Cobra, you usually cannot change the plan that you and your dependents are enrolled in until the regular open enrollment period for the active plan employees. So that means if you're in the more expensive PPO plan, you can't switch over to the cheaper HMO plan just because you are electing Cobra. Another common misconception with Cobra is that the employee needs to elect Cobra in order for somebody else, one of their beneficiaries that's on the plan, in order to be able to have the coverage, okay? The employee does not have to elect Cobra in order for their spouse or dependents to be able to elect coverage. You can elect to keep just your spouse on the plan, for example, and go down to the single premium rate, and the Scranton School District employee would opt out of Cobra entirely. You usually also have the option to continue only your dental and or vision coverage and opt out of your major medical coverage and vice versa. Some plans also have a separate prescription plan or a durable medical equipment plan. That's also a separate line. So when you see those separate line items for those prices, when you're continuing, you can opt to pick and choose what it is that you want to continue and not continue the other coverages. The rare exception to that is what they call a bundled plan, and bundled plans are common to union-operated multi-employer trusts, government plans, or some self-insured employers. But generally speaking, your coverages will usually be broken out separately. Another common misconception with Cobra when folks see the 18-month Cobra eligibility period is that they think they're signing up for a contract like with Dish Network and they're agreeing to pay that money. Cobra is a month-to-month proposition, and you can stop paying and terminate coverage at any time, but there may be some consequences there. All right, so the impact of choice of saying yes to Cobra. If you elect Cobra at full cost and then later cancel coverage, or coverage is terminated due to non-payment, that is not a qualifying life event that will allow you to have a special enrollment period for either spousal coverage or Affordable Care Act marketplace coverage. You would have to wait until the next regular open enrollment or what would have been the end of the 18-month Cobra period, whichever one comes sooner. If you do elect Cobra, you can drop it at any time during regular open enrollment and enroll in a spouse's group plan or a plan on the marketplace. Those open enrollment periods are safe harbor. If you qualify for a 60-day Affordable Care Act special enrollment period, you can immediately elect Cobra and then later enroll in an ACA marketplace plan. Your Cobra coverage can then be safely terminated when coverage under the new plan you enrolled in on the marketplace becomes effective. But you must enroll and pay your first premium for the ACA marketplace plan within the 60 days after your active employee coverage is terminated. But why would somebody want to do this? As I mentioned, the ACA marketplace coverage is prospective, starting at some point in the future, while Cobra coverage is retroactive, and that's useful for somebody that's desperate to avoid a lapse in coverage. All right? If you're not desperate to avoid a lapse in coverage, you can hold on to the Cobra election forms break in case of emergency while you're waiting for another plan to go active. So some pros of going with Cobra is that group plans are usually more generous benefits than what you can buy on the individual insurance market. It has that retroactive provision, so I don't have to worry about lapses in coverage. They have lower copays and deductibles than your spouse's coverage. I mean, if you're on your coverage, it's probably because it's the better coverage. If you have already paid any deductibles applicable for the year, you don't get any new deductibles when you elect Cobra. They would reset on their normal reset schedule. The major cons to electing Cobra is it's extremely expensive. You're usually paying 100% of the premium that would normally be split between you and the employer, plus up to 2% for administrative fees without that help you were getting from your employer anymore. Usually when folks get their Cobra election notice, that's the first time they see the full, I call it the full iceberg of what their health insurance costs. Normally we're only conscious of the part of the iceberg that sticks out of the water, and that's the part that comes out of our paycheck. All right. And even if you were made of money, Cobra coverage is not a long-term solution because it's limited to 18 months in most cases. But for certain folks in certain situations with certain medical needs, Cobra can represent a good option for them. So something that's been getting a little bit more advertising recently that I just added to this presentation is short-term health plans. Okay, they used to be really strictly regulated, but the federal government under the current presidential administration loosened these up a little bit. But they can be fool's gold for certain people, okay? So a short-term health plan can offer coverage for up to a maximum of 364 days with an option to renew for up to 3 years in total. Most commonly, folks will purchase a term on the plan of either 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. That's the most common term periods, okay? And it can be a solution if you're in between jobs, if you miss a regular or a special enrollment period, because these plans offer enrollment at any time, or if you're waiting for an employer-sponsored group plan to start, okay? But please, 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 read the summary details closely when you are shopping for short-term plans. As Mom always told you, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So why are these short-term plans attractive for some folks? They're affordable, but the benefits that are covered are typically related to emergency care. It may work for you if you don't require regular medical care or take any expensive prescriptions, okay? Some of the major cons for the average person under these short-term health plans is that purchasing a short-term plan can render you ineligible for any guaranteed issue plans, such as a conversion plan or Cobra coverage. Short-term health plans don't cover pre-existing medical conditions because these are not Affordable Care Act compliant plans. That stuff about no more pre-existing condition exclusions, Yes, if it's a marketplace compliant plan, which these short-term health plans are not. So pre-existing medical conditions, all right, are still a thing in this market. And based on your pre-existing conditions, they can refuse you coverage outright, and that's completely legal in this universe of this part of the individual health insurance market. Generally don't offer the benefits that more comprehensive plans do, such as essential health benefits in the 10 categories that are required to be offered under any ACA compliant health plan. A short-term health plan also doesn't guarantee renewal. So if you only purchase that 3-month term, and then sometime during the 3-month term, you seek treatment for an issue or you develop a new medical condition, at the end of the 3 months you want to renew again, well, whatever it was that started happening during the 3-month term is now a pre-existing condition, or they can refuse to renew you at all, okay? So the bottom line, if you're looking to save money and you need only bare bones coverage, a short-term health plan can be a good option, but please make sure that you take the risk of only having limited coverage into account when you're looking at the price tag. Children's health insurance program, okay? This is really Cadillac or Rolls-Royce coverage, whatever you'd like to call it, for the dependents under the age of 19, okay? As we mentioned, Compass is one of the ways to apply. You can also get application materials at the CHIP website, chipcoverspakids.com, okay? So if you have dependents under the age of 19, no coverage available to them, all right, you can enroll them in CHIP. Cobra coverage is not considered to be coverage, okay? So if you're on Cobra coverage, you can still enroll them in CHIP because that's not considered current coverage. Coverage is often free or low cost and depend on the household income, number of persons in the household, and the dependent's ages. There is a special caveat in the CHIP law, all right? A lot of folks that apply that have worked through most of the year, and they apply either shortly before or shortly after they lost their job, they originally get quoted one monthly premium for CHIP, and then it usually kicks in for the special circumstances situation, and then they get a second coverage premium, all right? So don't be shocked if that happens to you. Under CHIP is medical, dental, vision, and prescription drug coverage with very low copays for both primary and specialist, all right? So on the average, the monthly cost for a child on CHIP of a family of 4 with $60,000 in countable earnings is about $67 per child per month. So I generally tell people I have not seen too many Cobra plans that you're going to be able to cover one of your dependent children for $67 a month and have the coverage be better than what they're getting under CHIP, okay? You can apply for CHIP coverage before current coverage is lost. There's a section of the application where you can indicate that coverage is going to be lost sometime in the next 90 days, okay? The reason I say apply as soon as you can is because CHIP gives themselves about 4 weeks for the application to be processed. However, when they do get through with everything, they'll use the application date, all right? So if the child did incur medical costs, CHIP would retroactively cover those, okay? The household definition for children's health insurance program is different than the household definition for marketplace. As we said, for the marketplace, your household is your tax household, okay? So let's say, for example, you got some strange guy from Craigslist that rents a space off you in the basement. Not in your tax household, all right? But, you know, potentially would be considered in the household if they're a rent-paying individual, okay, that's in there for marketplace or for gift coverage. Pennsylvania's Medicaid expansion, all right, contrary to a lot of folks' popular belief, prior to the Medicaid expansion under the Affordable Care Act, if you were an able-bodied adult between the ages of 21 and 64 and you did not have children and weren't disabled or taking care of someone that was disabled, you pretty much could not get medical assistance in the state of Pennsylvania, okay? Let me go back one slide because there's something important in there. So income eligibility that is on the next screen. Medical assistance is allowed to use 2 different eligibility standards, okay? They can use it based on your current monthly income at the time you apply or your projected annual income under the IRS modified gross income standards. So what's nice about being able to project based off current income, if somebody applies after they have lost their job, it basically looks at their current situation and moving forward and kind of allows them to throw out what happened with their previous financial situation when one or both other adults in the household may have been working. If we have any veterans in the audience, I can tell you that there's been an awful lot of changes made to the Veterans Administration healthcare system. Biggest changes is that many veterans that were not eligible for any type of services through the Veterans Administration healthcare system are now eligible, okay? If you are a military veteran, sign up. They'll assign you a priority group. Primary doctor visits, $15, specialist, $50, prescriptions between $5 and $33. My father is a veteran, and his prescription drugs for his COPD are less expensive through the Veterans Administration healthcare than he can get through his actual health insurance. There's no monthly premiums associated with it, and it can be used in conjunction with private health insurance or Medicare. And that also gives the sign-up information there. As you are shopping for health insurance, okay, when we get our insurance through work, we often don't have a whole bunch of choices. If you get offered 3 choices of health insurance plans to pick from at work, that's a lot. So as you go out into this individual health insurance market and you start to see some of this terminology that is thrown around, that's why I kind of created this glossary of health insurance related terms that explains a little bit of the differences between some of these health insurance plans. And one of the biggest ones, all right, is the difference between, you may have, this is very popular with employer-sponsored health insurance, is a PPO or a preferred provider organization. A preferred provider organization offers a lot of flexibility with the doctors and the medical facilities that you are allowed to visit, okay? So with a PPO, if you are inside the quote-unquote network, you probably have lower copays and lower deductibles for visiting those doctors or those facilities. But you do have coverage outside of the network if you choose it, okay? So let's say you don't want to travel 60 miles to see that foot doctor, so you go outside a network with your PPO and see somebody that's closer. The office visit may be more expensive, the deductible may be higher because they're out of network, but I do have coverage. Contrast that with the next one down there, a health maintenance organization or an HMO. The vast majority of the plans that you are going to see on the marketplace are HMO plans. The big difference between HMO and PPO is with an HMO, if you go outside the network, you have no coverage. You'll be billed for the entire procedure or the full office visit. So that's why it's so important to plug those doctors in there to see if your primary care physician or your specialist take that plan. An HMO will also require you to have a primary care physician, okay? Family doctor, primary doctor, whatever you know them as. Most HMOs will also require, before you are allowed to go see a specialist, that you need to visit your primary care physician and get a referral. If you go to the specialist without a referral from the primary care physician, it's not going to be covered. Another type of plan that has started popping up on the marketplace is the next one down there, an exclusive provider organization, which is a bit of a hybrid between the PPO plan and the HMO plan, okay? You may also see the term, some of the plans on the marketplace will indicate that they are compatible with a healthcare savings account. And those are known as high deductible health plans if they're compatible with a health savings account. Not a very good or popular option for someone that's out of work. A high deductible health plan with a healthcare savings account can be decent when you're working, not a great option for somebody that's unemployed. Some of the other plan terms that you may run into as you are shopping. Deductibles, what's the dollar amount I pay out of pocket before the plan kicks in? Copayment, we're all probably familiar with that. That's the fixed dollar amount I pay when visiting the primary care physician, specialist, or other provider. Some plans will require that you meet the deductible before a copayment applies. Other plans offer a fixed copayment regardless as to whether or not I've met the deductible yet. Coinsurance is probably going to be a new term for you that you are not familiar with. Coinsurance is your share of the costs of a healthcare service or visit. So coinsurance is typically expressed as a percentage, okay? So if your plan requires a 10% coinsurance and what they pay the MRI provider is $100, you're going to be responsible for $10 of that 100. That's your 10% coinsurance. The MRI provider is getting 90 from the insurance company, 10 for you. Some plans have coinsurance after you've met a deductible. but other plans may have lower or no deductible but have a higher co-insurance percentage. So co-insurance stops when you've met your out-of-pocket maximum for the year, which is explained there. Also be aware of the allowed amounts and well a plan if that they do balanced billing, which is the healthcare provider paying you, the healthcare provider billing you above and beyond the normal and customary charge. Excuse me. So a little bit of a word on buying as much health insurance as you need. Occasionally when I have the under 25 invincible and nothing bad ever happens to me crowd in my meetings, they'll ask if I have no existing health problems and all I can reasonably afford is a plan that has a higher deductible, then why should I bother paying for insurance at all, okay? Answer to that is two reasons. One, insurance, all types of insurance, you're paying to minimize your financial risks and you're controlling your out-of-pocket costs, even if you have a deductible or a co-insurance, okay? So there's the accident example that's on there, so that's boogeyman worst case scenario type stuff. Let's talk about routine services, okay? Your insurance company approaches any of the providers that are in their network and they get a price for everything, okay? They beat the provider up for that price. So if you go in and you are paying a deductible, you are going to pay for that cost based on the price that was negotiated between the insurance company and the provider, okay? Now, contrast that with you walk in there to get that knee MRI off the street with no insurance card whatsoever. I don't know about you, but I've never walked into any medical facility that had like a price board up there like the dollar menu at McDonald's, okay? And even if you ask the person behind the desk and you tell them I'm about to pay cash for this knee MRI that I'm going to get done, they're not even going to be able to tell you what it's going to cost. They're going to tell you that you'll find out when the bill comes, which is a lot like going to a car lot and buying a car and having no idea what the monthly payment's going to be. You know, you just find out when it comes. All right, so even if you have to purchase a plan, in order for it to be affordable on a monthly basis, it's a plan that has a deductible. I don't encourage anybody to run around without insurance, but that is a personal decision. So before we move into the unemployment compensation portion of the show, I'll take any questions that we have. Or if you don't feel comfortable asking in front of anybody, my email address, my telephone number is on that agenda, so you can address me directly after the show. Okay, Bob, if we're not seeing any questions, I'm going to go ahead and turn the ball over to Kathy Van Valen to cover unemployment compensation.
Okay, Ron, I don't see any, so Kathy, here you go.
All righty, let me just move this forward one. Hi, everyone. My name is Kathy Van Valen. I'm the unemployment compensation rep, and today I'm here to explain the basics of unemployment compensation to you. If you have any trouble hearing me or, you have any questions, please feel free to let us know in the chat so that I can try to correct it. There was one question in chat about an overpayment and how that would affect future UC payments. I did type the answer in the chat, but in case the person can't see that, I'd like to just answer it before we start. And it basically depends on the type of overpayment. If it's a non-fault overpayment, then 30% of the weekly benefit rate will be taken towards that overpayment until it's paid off. If it is a fault overpayment, 100% of the weekly benefit rate would be used to offset the overpayment until it's paid off. So that's the answer to that one question that was asked. So starting in on the PowerPoint here, basically you have the right to file an application during the first week you experience a reduction in your normal hours and earnings. If you do delay filing an application, this could cost you benefits. They don't always allow backdating. It does depend on the circumstances. Applications can be filed beginning with the first week affected anytime on our website at uc.pa.gov. That is the easiest way to file your application. Internet applications are processed by the UC service centers that are located throughout the state. If we do need additional information from you, you would be directly contacted, usually by mail, asking for additional information. If the internet is not available, you can call into the UC service centers. Our hours of operation for phone calls coming in are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And that phone number is there at 888-313-7284. Now, you know that even at the best of times, it can be difficult to get through by phone to us. And now is not the best of times. The unemployment rate is through the roof. It's the highest unemployment rate we've ever had, and we are extremely busy. We are working a lot of hours to try to keep up with everything, but it is extremely busy. So if you can't get through by phone, I would suggest filing that claim online if you can. If you don't have computer access, you can always go to a public library or to the Careerlink and use their computers as they are available, okay? The basic information you need to provide when you're filing for unemployment: your Social Security number, the exact reason for your separation, the name, address, phone number, and periods of employment for any and all employers within the last 18 months. Please note that if you've worked out of state or if you've worked for the federal government or have been in the military at any point during the last 18 months, there's additional information we would need to pull in those wages so that we can get you an accurate financial determination. Your PA driver's license, it's for ID purposes only. If you don't have it, don't feel like digging it out to put the numbers on there, you can go ahead without putting that in there. If you're not a U.S. citizen or national, you would need to send in a copy of your alien registration card along with a copy of your Social Security card in order to be eligible, because you have to be legal to work in the United States to collect benefits. This is just a copy of the unemployment compensation filing material checklist. You could read over this at your leisure, but it just gives you a list of what you need. So after you file your initial claim, within 10 to 12 days, you'll be receiving a claim confirmation letter. This contains your personal identification number or PIN number, and it also has payment options in there regarding the debit card and direct deposit. If you do want to sign up for direct deposit, you can fill out that paperwork and send it in, or you can go online using that personal identification number and fill out the direct deposit information. If you filled out your initial application online, you can sign up for direct deposit right at that time as well. If you did not sign up for direct deposit or have not had direct deposit on an unemployment compensation claim in the last 2 years, you will receive a U.S. Bank Relia card. This card, it used to have a picture of the PA Grand Canyon, but I think they ran out of those, so I think it's a plain card now. But you will get this card in the mail to you. You can also receive your Unemployment Compensation Handbook. This explains all aspects of your responsibilities when you're claiming unemployment. If your claim is filed online, you agree to download and read the electronic version of the handbook. It will not be mailed to you. You would just need to print that out if you want a hard copy of it. Now, the Notice of Financial Determination will also come out to you, and this will explain how much you're eligible for in benefits, and it also gives you your quarterly wages as they were reported to us or as we have them in our record. So it's always good to review that, and if you do disagree with anything on that Notice of Financial Determination, let us know. So how do we determine your financial eligibility? Basically, we use something called your base year, and that's a law that was established. So the base year is the first 4 of the last 5 completed calendar quarters preceding the filing of the new UC claim. So for example, if a claim is filed in October, November, or December of 2020, the base year would be the 3rd quarter of 19, so July of 2019, through the 2nd quarter of 20, so ending June 30th of 2020. okay, the end of June 2020. Our weekly benefit rates can range anywhere from $68 to $572 per week. Your weekly benefit rate will be determined by the highest total gross quarterly earnings you had during the base year. So basically what we do is we look at those 4 quarters of earnings. Whichever quarter is higher, that is what your weekly benefit rate would be based off of. Now, your weekly benefit rate should be at least 50% of your average gross weekly wage from the employer in which you earn the most money in your base year, okay? So look at that information, and if by some chance it is less than that 50%, let us know, because then there's an investigation we could do to try to bring that up. But our highest rate is $572. So if you're grossing $1,200 a week, you're not going to get $600 a week from unemployment. You're going to get $572 because that is our maximum rate. We can't go any higher than that. Now, additional weekly benefits can be claimed for up to 2 dependents. Dependents are children under 18 or unable to work, or dependent spouse. The additional payments are $5 for the first dependent and $3 for the second, and that maxes out at $8 per week, not exceeding 26 weeks. Please note that there's currently a 2.4% rate reduction that will be applied to all regular state UC payments. This is because the trust fund was low. So because of this, payments have been reduced. It's a law that kicks in whenever that trust fund goes down to a certain point. So for every $100 in unemployment you're getting, you'll get about $2.40 less. Now, once you file your initial claim, that sets up the framework of your claim, but no money goes out to you yet. After you file your initial application, in order to actually receive benefits, you need to do what we call filing your biweekly claims for benefits. Now, our claim weeks are Sunday to Saturday. It's the calendar week. So in most cases, you'll file for 2 claim weeks at one time. This biweekly claiming must be done every other week for as long as you are not working or not working full-time hours and collecting unemployment compensation. Note that when you file an initial application on that claim confirmation letter, it'll tell you when you need to first file your biweekly claim. And basically that is, you'll file your claim 1 week, 2 weeks later you'll file your biweekly claim for benefits. Now, there are 2 ways to file your biweekly claim for benefits. You can log on to the website, uc.pa.gov. You can click on the File a Biweekly Claim. There's an added step now. It's going to ask you what type of claim you're filing. Because of COVID, we have multiple claim varieties, but you would just be filing for regular unemployment compensation. So once you do that, then you enter your Social Security number and your UC PIN number that you were provided, and you answer a series of basic yes and no questions about the 2 previous weeks. Claiming is available Sundays from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. and Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. You can also currently claim by using the PA Teleclaims or PAT system. That's an automated phone line that you call into, and the phone numbers are there for that. The basic is 888-255-4728, and the Spanish PAT line is 877-888-8104. No matter which way you file, the questions are going to be the same. It's going to ask you, do you want to file for the week? Did you work at all that week? If you worked, what were your earnings? Were you absent from work when work was available to you? And that means you were actually scheduled for work, but for a personal reason, you could not go to work. And it will ask you, did you receive holiday pay? Did you receive vacation pay? And are you able and available for work? Which simply means if you have worked this week, would you have been able to go to work? Was there anything preventing you from working that week? And here's a list of the biweekly claim questions, just so you have that. moving on to the calendar here, this is just to give you an idea of the flow of unemployment compensation. So in this example, the last day of work is September 30th, okay, which is a Wednesday. So that week, if you, and I believe your last day of work is the Wednesday, but you're being paid for that full week, okay? Since you're being paid for that full week, you would not file for benefits that week. You would wait until the week of the 4th to the 10th to file your claim. So you file your claim between the 4th and the 10th. No matter what day you file your claim that week, your application for benefits date would be the October 4th. Then the first 2 weeks would go by, the week of the 10th and the week of the 17th. Excuse me. The week of the 10th and the 17th, and then you would file your biweekly claim on the 18th. Then the next 2 weeks would go by, the 24th and the 31st, and you would file your biweekly claim on the 1st. Now, whether it's the 18th or the 1st, if you file on Sunday or Monday, you would receive your first payment usually by Wednesday of that week, okay? It usually takes 2 days from the date that you file the claim for it to process, but no claim processing happens on Sunday night. About that time, you're going to be due for your Careerlink registration deadline. Now, currently, this is not in effect due to COVID, but we are going to, it can come into effect, so I do suggest you do that registration so it doesn't affect you in the future. So partial benefits can be paid if you work less than full-time and your weekly gross wages are less than your weekly benefit amount plus 30%. The specific amount of your partial benefit credit will appear on your Notice of Financial Determination. Please refer to that in your UC Handbook and our website for additional information. To explain this a little bit better, let's say your weekly benefit rate is $300 a week. 30% of $300 is $90. So if you work and earn $90 or less at a part-time job, you would still get your full $300. Anything over that $90 will deduct dollar for dollar from the $300. So let's say you worked and earned $110. That's $20 over that $90. So instead of getting $300 from unemployment, you would start getting $280 from us. Distributions of pension or retirement plans as well as severance package payments may reduce benefits under certain circumstances. So if you are going to be getting a pension, if you're taking a lump sum payout from a 401k that is through your employer, that could affect your benefits, and we would have to do an investigation into it to see how it affected it. Also, if you are getting a severance amount, that can also affect things. Support orders are automatically deducted if applicable. So if you have child support coming out of your pay, it's going to come out of your unemployment. If you do work a part-time job while collecting unemployment, you would want to contact domestic relations. They're the ones that would have to make the adjustment so you don't get it taken out twice. Social Security is not deductible, but please inform the UC Service Center if you are receiving any Social Security benefits. Vacation pay is only deductible if you have a definite recall date. If you get a lump sum payout of any vacation pay in the week that you receive it, you should report it that you received that vacation pay that week when you're filing your biweekly claim for benefits. But if you, excuse me, again, but if you don't have an expected return date to work, it's not deductible. If you're not physically able and available for work or attached to your local labor market for more than 3 days of any claim week, contact the UC Service Center to ensure proper processing. You'd have to be able and available for work in order to collect benefits. UC benefits are considered income for federal tax purposes only. You have the option of having 10% of your weekly benefit rate withheld for tax purposes. In January, at the end of January, a 1099-G would be issued to you, and it will state how much you received in unemployment and how much was taken out in taxes. I always say watch your first payment if you chose to have taxes taken out. Make sure the taxes came out. If not, contact us immediately. We can't fix it in January once it's all done, but we can get it updated if there was an error in the system. For individuals who file a new claim with no written date of recall, you now have the following work search requirements. You need to register on the PA Careerlink system within 30 days. As I said, this right now is on hold, but it can come into effect at any time, so I would get it done just so it doesn't come back and affect you later on. You need to conduct an active search for work during each week claim. This is also on hold right now. We do suggest you do keep a written record of any work search activities you do. Once that becomes active again, if you do get audited, having that written record lets you easily fill in the form and send it back to us. You don't send us those records weekly. It is only if you're audited that you have to send us the information. Please refer to your UC handbook or visit the website for work search instructions. Any determination issued by the UC Service Center can be appealed if you disagree. Appeals must be filed within 15 calendar days of the mailing date shown on the UC Service Center determination. Please review any determination you receive, and if you do disagree with it, appeal it immediately so that you get it in timely. Please remember that once your claim is established, you are responsible to provide us with all relevant information. For any additional information, you can always go to our website. There's a lot of tools and aids on that website that can help you understand unemployment compensation. This is a form I usually hand out. It's called Online is Quick and Easy. It has all our phone numbers on the back, and I always called it the refrigerator hanger. You can just print this out, and it'll give you all the information to contact unemployment. And that is pretty much the presentation. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, Kathy, there are some questions in the chat panel. Do you see them?
Yeah, let me just read them here. Okay.
Sure.
That is by answer. Do you have any regarding the extra $300 stimulus check? The $300 stimulus check was something the president had signed in, and it ran through FEMA. We did do it, but we only got approved for 5 weeks before the funds ran out. The last week that stimulus check was good for, I believe, was the week of September 5th. So it was the 4 weeks of August and the 1 week of September that was eligible for that $300 stimulus check. So if anyone was paid out for one of those weeks, they should also receive that $300 stimulus check. The next question is, sorry, I'm losing my voice today. We did not work in the summer, and our last day of work was June 12, 2020. We do not get paid in the summer, only get 185 paid days of work per year. So should we have been eligible for PUA benefits? So for PUA benefits, correct. Not necessarily. PUA benefits are for the pandemic. Your unemployment had to have been caused by the pandemic in order to qualify for PUA benefits. If you're not eligible for regular UC benefits, regular unemployment compensation benefits always come first. So you would have to try to file a regular unemployment compensation claim. The UC Service Center would have to make a determination because of the school wages in the base year. And if you were found eligible for UC, you could have collected unemployment compensation during that time. If you weren't eligible for UC, whether it be because you had reasonable assurance to return to work or for any other reason, it is possible you could be eligible for PUA, but you would have to show that it was because of the pandemic that you are unemployed. It says I filled out, I would suggest, I believe my email address is on the information for the service for this. Is that correct, Ron?
That is correct. Our email addresses
Okay.
are on.
Any personal questions, please email to me, because I would have to look at your actual claim and see what's going on in order to answer this. Let's see here. So send me an email and I will look into your case. I guess this is Sonia. So send me a direct email and I can look into that. It might take a couple of days for me to get back to you as I am swamped right now, but I will get back to you if you send me an email. When do you file your initial claims? From what I understand, and based on that calendar, your last day of work is going to be September 30th. Is that right, Ron?
That is correct.
Okay, but you're going to be paid for that full week. So you should file between October 4th and October 10th. If they do renew the 300, will we get back pay to the day we were furloughed? If any new programs come through, we check all claimants to see who would be eligible for that, and we will pay out to all claimants. Whether or not it'll be 300, 600, whatever happens, we always check all claims for eligibility, and we make those payments out. Can my members email their questions to the PM list? Okay, so there's some things here. My members are not eligible for summer use. We get 26 checks per year. Yes, but in this meeting, it was mentioned that you can get an appointment to in-person help. That is at the Careerlink. That is not unemployment compensation. They don't work over the summer, but they are paid. So since they don't work over the summer and are paid, they don't qualify for UC benefits during that time because you're being paid.